Welcome to the Crazy Agent Dinner Party. Part group therapy, part inspiration, entirely for real estate agents to dish on this crazy business we're in. And remember, real estate is crazy, and you don't have to be. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, a combined 40 plus years in real estate, Coach Konversion Kourtney, and the real estate mom you never knew you needed, Amanda, the marketing mama. Our special guest today is Tony Tate, team owner of multi-state live and invest group at LPT Realty. On today's menu, we're dishing up Be the Thermostat, not the Thermometer.
Well, thank you, Jenny, our trusty and beautiful sidekick. Yes, you guys, did you have a great week? It's been a week, right? And so that's why we get together every single Wednesday and we gather to do a little bit of group therapy, a lot of inspiration, and all of it is entirely for us real estate agents to sell more real estate and hopefully have way more fun doing it. So today's awesome guest we were on the phone. He's a team leader. I'm a team leader, former team leader, now #1 solo agent. At least that's what the award said, my partner, Courtney. But we were speaking about teams and kind of, what we've been through. And he coined this phrase, which we're going to talk about today, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. However, he then dug in to the hottest experience I've ever heard as an agent. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So for starters, Tony, tell us about the time that one of your clients had an affair and then you ended up getting like a gajillion deals out of it.
So it was interesting, to say the least, Amanda. It was a lot of fun.
For somebody it was, at least.
I mean, it was fun.
Right.
It's like when you see somebody do something crazy, like, oh my, that looks like so much fun, as long as you're not the one doing it or going through it. Right. Yeah, that's kind of how it was. So husband and wife go to a community, want new construction. They go there, meet this awesome customer serving, and she went above and beyond, and I'll talk about that later, site consultant. And so kind of fast forwarding short a little bit, they got everything done. Everything was done. Great closing. Everything was awesome. We got ready to go do the walkthrough. So we did the walkthrough, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I need to go get my phone. I left my phone back at the place, and so not a big deal. I was like, hey, you guys okay if I just go ahead and take off since we're technically over? You need me to come get you? She's like, no, I'll just ride back on her golf cart.
Okay.
So initially, I had already texted, him and his wife, hey, listen, we're doing the walkthrough. And she's like, I'm running late. I'm probably not going to make it, so I'm just going to not make it. Well, it turns out she did make it, and then when she made it, she saw them making it, like making out in the home.
Oh my God.
Now.
Oh, so she actually caught them.
Yeah, she did. So I had to turn around.
Such a bummer.
I had to turn around.
You didn't just hightail it out of there, huh?
No, I
Sucks
didn't.
to be you. Thanks for the money. Bye. No, don't do that.
No.
That's the opposite of what you want to do.
So the text was, it was a voice text. And from what I could make out, she's like, she wanted to know if there's any way we can back out. I said, well, you guys can, but you guys are putting like 25% down.
Yeah.
So you guys are definitely going to lose that because we're right here.
Right.
She's okay, well, right after we close, you are going to sell this house. I don't want to make it a big deal. I've got to figure out how I'm going to tell my family, his family. So we need you to turn around and sell this house. And also, I'm going to need to find a new house too. So.
All right.
So it ended up being a situation. So there's one transaction. And I'm turning around, I'm reselling the same house after they close. So that's 2 transactions.
Well, let's dig into this, because that starter that's daunting. Actually, I don't know what I would have done, and I feel like agents in general, over the smallest thing, as we say often, will lose their mind. And so when you're turning around to come back and basically quell the situation, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. I always get them reversed. So let's dig into really what that means, really what being that thermostat and not the thermometer, because in that moment, I might have, I know I probably would have been like, holy crap. Did you express?
I was mad. I was just mad.
Yeah.
Like
how dare he?
I was mad with him. I was mad with her. Like, even if this guy is a piece of crap, right? Which
well, he clearly
obviously
is.
He was.
Sorry, not sorry.
She's code of ethics were nowhere on the table. Only on the table were them, right?
Wow.
So it was just terrible. And so I felt like she should have, can you just, at least if you're going to do this, I don't even know what she does to get business, but she was the number one agent before that.
Well, now we know what she does to get business.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But the reality was, I had to check myself, and so I had to realize, okay, I had to get myself out of the situation, and whether it's this situation or a for sale by owner situation that sometimes we flip, you know, or whether it is just going to listen it. Nobody ever buys a house and says, "Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. This house is so awesome. It's so beautiful. I cannot wait to sell this house."
Right.
Typically, when people are selling their house, it's not always because of a positive life change.
Right.
So, had to bring everybody back down. I said, okay, this is terrible. This is horrible. These are emotions, and they're going to subside. So,
do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that they had been having this because it was a builder, right? You're not going to say who the builder was. Now, but so they built the house. Had they been doing it for a while? Do you think? Or is he just the type of guy that would have done that with?
You know, at the risk of, if I had to be on trial and testify, you know, the opposing counsel would probably say, "Your Honor, I object. That's cause of speculation."
Okay,
but
all right.
But if I'm speculating, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I was single, I pride myself on being able to overcome objections pretty quickly to get to the end goal. I don't know that this guy had those tools.
I mean,
so I mean, I just think that was something that was probably already in play, or at least intimated, or something. You know, like maybe even if it was a temperature. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because when you're purchasing a new build, it's a long process, and so it's lots of meetings,
and lots of emails, lots of texts, lots of site visits, and I hate it building my house, but I love going to the design center of the. Yes. Oh, it's like my favorite thing. I would do that every day if I could.
So I would probably. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's any chemistry there, but there was a lot of. She had a lot of ambivalence when I was there. So it was like, okay, she was probably hiding something. So I would, if I had to bet the farm, I would bet the farm on that was something that was percolating. And either if they hadn't, they were waiting for that final walk. So,
and so I think too, like when we talk about the emotions and the emotions that are involved, and you had mentioned the family, like this is a prime example of where the emotions are really, really high.
The highest.
So like the highest,
like,
right?
I can't even imagine.
And so like, how did you keep your cool to know, like, you cannot get emotionally attached to either side, either one, the situation? How did you keep your cool?
Well, you probably could, but then you wouldn't have done however many. You did. How many?
We ended up being 5. So here's how that worked. So what I did was I realized, I was like, okay, this is going to be ugly. And although my divorce from my children's mother was not anything anywhere this, I thought about the only adult in the room after we had the conversation was their oldest daughter. So I should probably just say names, but basically she was like, okay, well, she basically addressed them, and she just kind of said, you guys suck as parents. I mean, it's not parents, I'm sorry. You guys suck as husband and wife, but I really like our time, Dad. I really like our time, Mom, so I know how we do this.
So the greatest parents,
the oldest daughter and I workshopped. We said, hey, listen, we're going to go ahead and do this. So I went and helped her get a new house. Okay. Transaction number 3.
Okay, so
get that in contract.
Let's just go. So we're purchasing the new build that he got caught making out in or whatever.
Turn around and had to sell that.
Sell that one. And then the oldest daughter convinced Mom and Dad that the best thing for the kids would be to what?
She wasn't. So basically, they knew that they had to get a divorce. So she knew she wanted out. Like the wife knew she wanted out of me. So she was like, I'm not wasting any time. I wanted to go get me a little something. I got a little bit of cash. Damn. So she's like, I'm gonna go get this.
No marriage counseling or anything.
So
she's
she went ahead.
She
went ahead because she didn't want to have anything to do with that. She just wanted her money back from it because she knew that was never going to be a house she was ever going to live in.
Amen. I don't blame her.
So she had that house, and then they had to sell it. He decided, well, I got to stay somewhere. So he went, helped him get a home, which was great because I talked him out of doing a subject to, which is terrible for the other people. So I actually helped him get one. So that was transaction 4. Turns out the only adult in the room was the oldest daughter, and she goes, "Listen, I know what you guys are going to do or what you're going to have, but I like my new school." Yeah. So we ended up. They kept those, and we ended up buying one big house
like a neutral place
the kids lived in. We put that home in a family trust. Yeah. The kids were the beneficiaries of the trust. They were both trustees, and also the tiebreaker was Grammy. Grammy was a tiebreaker, so they were the trustees. Those are the trustees for the house. So they had the house, and so it ended up being 5 transactions because there's that and there's that. But the whole time, there's a whole saying, not my monkeys, not my circus. These were absolutely my monkeys.
Well, you had so much on the line. And I think probably, especially, like, that is one of the hardest things to have to deal with. And even to be thrown, like, in live in action in the middle of it, like, not in the action, but in the action in the middle of it, to be thrown into it. Like, you saw immediately, like, okay, I can actually be their life raft. I can resuscitate everything about this and actually get us on the straight and narrow. And I think that's probably the hardest lesson to learn as an agent, because if you let emotion drive the decision, then you're forgetting the why they wanted to do it, what they needed to get done. You're forgetting your power that you have as the consummate professional, and not imparting your opinion, your feeling, your emotion inside of it. Don't you agree, Kourtney? Like, have you ever let your emotion get the better of you, and then you've derailed a deal?
Yeah, totally.
You were the thermometer.
I early on, right? And I think a lot of agents do, right? And you have to go through one of them before you realize, like, okay, like you
learn all the lessons in real estate the hard way.
Right, the hard way.
So how'd you learn this lesson?
So my husband and I, we were on a deck, and the deck collapsed, and we fell 12 feet. And so I had another buyer where the deck came up, and it was really scary. And so, like, I got into it, right? Like, I'm like, if it's scary, we need a new deck.
Because it triggered you from when you guys fell.
Yep, and doing the deal.
Okay.
And it was the only deal that I cried on because it didn't go through. The seller was unwilling to replace the deck. I mean, it's a $20,000 deck, and they were unwilling to replace it.
You and Lloyd should have just gone and sit on the deck, and then they.
We got another new deck.
There you go. Just thinking outside the box.
So I look back on it, and man, that was like 16, 17, 18, almost 18 years ago.
Wow.
And so I look back on that deal, and I was like, I completely, by having my emotions involved, derailed the deal, because I took my own experience, my own negative with the deck, right? And I pushed it on to both the buyers and the sellers and the agent, right? And so the deal didn't close, and they didn't end up using me because I was crying on the phone with them.
Oh no!
Like, oh gosh! That?
Yeah, that's a little different. So
it does. I mean, like,
have you cried on the phone with a client? Do you cry?
I do cry.
Good. I feel like men should be allowed to.
I cried in the movie Tombstone when Doc Holliday had to tell them, the guy's like, man, why are you doing all of this? And he's like, because why is my friend? The guy's like, hell, I got lots of friends. And then Doc Holliday's like, I don't. And so that's my man movie. So that's like,
oh my gosh.
That was Tombstone was it for me.
That's a good one.
I know there's the Wyatt Earp version where Kevin Costner was there, but you give me Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday.
Oh, Val Kilmer,
all day, every day,
hands down, like one of the best actors in the history of the world. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
So good.
I definitely cried about that, and definitely when Jordan went to the Wizards. So it's a very emotional time.
When Jordan went to the Wizards, you cry. Why do men cry over sports? Like, because y'all are not on the team.
Sports is the ultimate thing. Sports is like, I don't want to do these sports is like dating kind of things, but man, I mean, there are times when you got to punt, and there's some times where you score, and so it's just different. But in that situation with these people, I just got mad. I was mad, and I had to do something with it. And Eric Thomas is really good about explaining things like, okay, you already in pain, so now you got to get a reward for it.
Right.
These kids already went through this. So how do we try to normalize a situation where their parenting unit is disjointed, and now they're gonna have to. So they stayed in the big house, and the parent, when it was their week, they just kind of came and stayed.
Healthy way to, if you can afford it. That's that's pretty awesome.
There's a lot of people who do that nowadays, right?
Really?
Like, I've heard of a lot of people who do that.
Well, call Tony. He can help you with that.
I have a question for Tony.
Sure.
So this sounds like a full-time job dealing with these people, but I have a suspicion that you had other clients during the time.
Yes.
So how many other transactions did you have to maneuver and work at while you were doing this?
So I thought of them as actually, so we have to compartmentalize this.
Exactly.
Right? So I thought of them as the first transaction, I was helping a married couple. And then I disassociated that marriage because that marriage was done. Then I got a guy who's recently divorced that needs a house. And then I got a lady who's recently divorced that needs a house. Then now I have a family that's looking to buy a house together. So for me, there were 4 different clients, even though they were the same people.
Right. And did you have any other clients outside of that family?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I would be like, I can't even. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I do a lot of. I like commercial deals too, so I'm always trying to put those deals together. And then, fortunately, during that time, commercial. If the numbers work,
Yeah, it's really nice because there's little to no emotion. I love commercial myself.
I really love that you said each transaction is different, and I believe that, right? Like I believe selling a house is different than using the same people and buying a house. It's a different transaction.
Yeah.
And so I love that you separated each transaction.
Yeah, and it was difficult for me because I looked at this dude, and it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered if that was Serinda Swan or Beyonce, at the sales consultant desk. It wouldn't have mattered. That's still your family unit. So there's probably other issues there. I don't know.
If she was ready to jump ship like immediately, then obviously that was probably not the first time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. There's so many things that I can when I think back about it, I'm thinking there were some things there that maybe wasn't like the most loving response to certain things.
Right.
Like when he was almost late with the earnest money deposit and stuff like that, and the attitude surrounding that.
Oh, so they got a little like from the beginning.
It was interesting. I mean, I know I probably would have a different response to some of the things, but we also are told to take ourselves out of the situation.
100%.
Don't project. Yes. So it wasn't something like if that.
Or you'll fall on a deck and then deflate a deal, right?
Totally.
Yeah, it was it was their deal. I didn't get to comment on their relationship, so I had to stay out of that.
It's fair if we do have judgment, right? Like we have no judgment on.
Yeah,
who
you
we're
really
working
can't.
with.
And that's where I failed. Because I completely judged this dude, but I did not hate him enough to where it was not going to be $18,750.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like, one of my, speaking of judgment for people, a long time ago, back in like Heathrow Woods or something like that. No, Aliquot something. A guy bought, I know.
Market Woods Road is wild.
He bought this house, and it was like what might be considered, in my opinion, a porn star house. Like it was just.
No, it was a porn star guy that had a house back then.
Well, maybe that was the same guy. No, he was an attorney, and he just loved this house. And I'm like, this is not a family house. Like literally, it had those floating stairs. I'm like, there's no way a baby could be on here. Like there's no way. Yeah. And so, but he was obsessed with this house. Now his family, they were here part time and in New York part time. And I did judge. I didn't audibly say it out loud. If you're watching this, I did judge you. I'm sorry. But when he bought it, I was like, this guy's gonna do bad things in this house when he's down here without his family because he was so into it. Yeah. But I guess you're not supposed to. So that's a valid point because when you do it in the moment, then you derail that one deal, or you derail all 5 deals.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to be that.
So I don't know about you,
thermostat.
but I have some sketchy family members. And so when I go to a family member's house that I feel is sketchy, I put my wallet and my phone in the glove compartment of my car.
Oh my gosh, I don't have those.
And so you have to check, like, it's like, so you have to say, okay, I got to check what's valuable to me in the glove compartment before I go and enter that domain. So for me, it's, okay, my professional, my judgment, got to stick my judgment. I got to stick my anger
in the glove compartment.
In the glove compartment before I get out of that and go over there and dealing with this guy because, like, I'm just like, man, like, this dude is just, it's terrible.
Was she, like, smoking hot? I mean, like, what?
Oh, the wife? Yeah, she's from Brazil.
Ah, no,
Yeah.
but the sales representative.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. My eyes did not behold any beauty that would have directed me to that. And then for me personally, I'm like terminally married, so I don't, it's because I mean, it's the death do you part. Or if I do something crazy, she got to kill me. It is what it is.
Oh, you love her. That's good. That's what
yeah, nah, man. That's like, and this is gonna make me sound really, really crass, but that's like. At best, that's like 1:30 in the morning at the bar, and they're like calling for last call, and like right before the light goes on,
you're like,
then you go talk to her.
Yeah,
I kind of got that vibe.
Oh my gosh.
From her.
Okay.
So again, I know that's gonna make me sound horrible.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near as horrible as what she did to that family unit.
Yeah. So, well, and apparently she must do it a lot.
I look at this and I'm like, I don't know if I've ever had a transaction the same. Like every single transaction.
Well, they're all different because what's the number one variable?
People, right?
And people are all different. That's like the most bizarre one, though. I cannot believe she actually caught them in the act.
Had I known this, like, so on my team we do like these team awards, and so we had one. So shout out to Jacob Solis when you're watching this. Come on, make sure that you watch it. But he's my team leader in San Antonio, and he won the Bye Felicia Award.
Oh my gosh, how funny!
Had I known that this was that kind of customer, I would have been like, "Bye, Felicia. You need to go be somebody else's problem."
Right.
You know. So.
But instead of that, you actually really capitalized on it. 5 transactions is like.
It was really more to stick it to that guy because he paid for all. He was responsible for that, and I made sure he paid.
Nice. Well, there you go.
And that brings up a good point. Like, at what point do you buy Felicia? Because there are there's some opportunities where it's like, okay, how much do we want to make ourselves involved?
Well, that's where you really got to be in control of your thermostat.
I was going to say that thermostat is important here. Okay, so let's talk about that.
Because I have one of those faces where, like, oh man, I had to work and work and work at doing this thing where I bite my lip, kind of, and I breathe through my nose. Because if I do that, I cannot. I will less likely tell what's going on in my face. But there are people where this is the South. I've ran into some people that try to have a certain opinion about my appearance, and they don't necessarily and I have to let them go be somebody else's problem.
Okay.
So there's that, and so I think what you have to do for me, one of the exercises that I do is I'm like, how much of this is worth your peace?
Right, exactly.
You can get a piece of money, you can have peace of mind, and you gotta have both. You never want to sacrifice a piece of money if you don't have to.
Right.
And you never ever want to sacrifice a peace of mind. So you have to have those pieces, the PIECE and the PEACE. So your pieces have to go together.
I love that.
And as long as you keep your pieces together, then all good. But if you feel like you're going to lose your peace of mind from dealing with somebody, they got to go because your professionalism is next.
Exactly. Well, luckily for us, we have the chillest cool cucumber ever here.
She is cooler than the other side of the pillow.
The flip side of the pillow. Dude, that is totally Kourtney. Yes. That is awesome. That's like one of my favorite things in life is that flip side of the pillow. So how about you bring us the icing on the cake? Let's get some dessert here and talk about chill. How do you chill?
We all talk to ourselves, right? And so
no.
do you talk to yourself?
Yes, of course. Like I never stop talking to myself.
And then you ask yourself, you're like, do I talk to myself? Yes.
And I was like,
yeah, it's the arguments I got to keep from getting into with myself.
So it's important the way that we talk to ourselves really, really matters. And so when a situation like this comes up, it's important to stay cool, calm, collective, and not talk yourself into getting all wrapped up in the situation, right? So number one is just we talk to ourselves. So stay positive, stay relaxed, stay calm, talk to yourself. When things feel like, because have you ever done when things you wake up, you spill coffee, right? And then you're like, oh shit, this is going to be a bad day. And then something else happens, and then something else happens. The key is you can change that in an instant. When something bad happens, you talk to yourself and you can just be like, it's not going to be a bad day.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is I've taught my daughters this. And so it's if they ever say, oh my God, this is going to be a bad day, I'm like, no, it's not. You spilled coffee. It's going to be awesome.
It was a bad moment.
You spilled juice. It's a bad moment. It's not a bad day. And so that's number one. Number one is just what we say to ourselves really, really matters.
I agree.
And number two is just the energy that we bring when we have situations like this really matters. So it's important just to relax, stay calm. I do a lot of meditation, and I know that you have a hard time meditating.
I'm like, good for you.
It is
I have ADHD, so I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try harder.
And,
So funny.
And so it's important just to stay calm, stay collective. What we say to ourselves really matters, and then from that, it's the energy that we bring.
I love it. That's great. Icing on the cake.
So, what do we have for the weekly virtual to-go box?
Well, actually, one of the things that I've been known to do, I've almost done 300 transactions where either the seller or the buyer is using crypto assets in the transaction. We just did a training on this at a higher level, but not too deep. But I'm going to go deeper. Okay, I'm going deeper. It's a 2-hour course, and I'm giving that away.
Wow.
And it's how to do a transaction using crypto and real estate. So I'm going to give that away, but I'm going to be doing the Realtor version, not the title company version, but the Realtor version, coming up this September. So we'll be giving that away for somebody.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll definitely have you back on the show to talk about that because that's so interesting and so different.
That's
And I've not done 300 of them, but I've done a handful.
Almost, not quite.
And it's interesting, right? So
it is. You just got to make sure that you keep the title company out of title company jail, and you keep the agents in their lane. Like you're real estate, stay in your lane.
Heard those cats.
Just do that. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Tony Tate, you want to take the last bite? We're gonna zoom in on you. You're gonna tell the world the last little nugget about being that thermostat that they should take with them in their real estate journey this week, and hopefully they're gonna give us some feedback, and then you can come back again because we always love talking to you.
I love you guys. I love hanging out with you guys. So, I think if I were to really give one piece of advice when it comes to something like that, I think I'd probably have to say you have to remove yourself in the situation. Outkast has a great line in their song Miss Jackson because I'm just that I'm an audiophile. I love music.
Me too.
I love to dance, love music.
Same.
Anybody at the convention last year would know that. But for me is you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. And that is the reason why we have a thermostat inside of our house because that's our environment. If it's too hot, make an adjustment. You can do anything that you need to do in a moment that requires you to show up and do it. And you have to take yourself out of the situation. And it's not about you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nobody ever goes to buy a house like, oh my gosh, this house is so beautiful, it's so gorgeous. I cannot wait to sell this house. Because a lot of times we're encountering people on what could be the worst day of their life, where they got to put somebody in hospice, or where they got to put somebody in a residential assisted living or whatever it is. You cannot do all of that and still understand and be in that. So the thermostat, just like the thermostat is for your inside of your house or inside of your environment, you have to be the thermostat because no one should ever be able to see what's going on in your life by looking at you just the same way they can read a thermometer. They should not be able to read you. You should always be set at 72 degrees.
That's great. I like that. Not 74, you lizard.
Well, that's room temperature. I learned that in like 8th grade earth science. So.
Yes.
As you're explaining it, I look and I feel like as when somebody walks into the room, right? Like we control the energy around the room, right? Instead of walking into the room and being controlled by the energy in the room.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you are that thermostat because y'all, real estate is crazy.
And you don't have to be.